republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. This is Monday, January 21st, Martin Luther King Day. If you have any business questions or comments for this body, come up to the microphone, give us your name and address, be recognized by the chair. Call the roll, please.
Cedar.
Here.
Ellery.
Here.
Kinsfater.
Here.
Koopa.
Here.
Laporte.
Here.
McCartney.
Here.
Watt.
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We'll go to consent agenda for City Council minutes of January 7th, 2019 meeting. Recommendation approve, and B, resignation from Historical Commission, accept with regrets.
Motion to approve A and B as presented.
Support.
All right, the motion is made and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Correction.
Correction?
Yes. Under public comments, please sign here, Mr. Clayman was inquiring about a street light that was out at 8th and Harriet. I do not believe that intersection is private place. I'm not sure where it is.
Oh,
South Riverside Harriet, but it's been replaced.
South Riverside and Harriet.
Yep.
8th and Harriet is what.
Thank you. I'll make the correction.
All right, anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to reports of administration. Mr. Booth.
Your Honor, the 2017-18 audit is scheduled to begin next Monday, January 28th. As indicated just previously, the street light on South Riverside has been fixed. It was taken care of by the police department. Also, I believe another question that was raised was a light at Diamond Point. That is operational now as well. A few other questions that were brought up I am still working on, so that's all I have, Your Honor.
Any questions from council for Mr. Booth?
Yeah, the replacement of the lights, Mike, is that done by DTE or is that done by DPW?
Typically, the police department takes care of it. They'll call it in. So the DPW does not do those.
So
DTE.
DT.
what's the normal turnaround if one goes out?
That one should have been done a while ago. I actually entered it when the person asking the question was in my office, and just it didn't get fixed. I had entered the wrong cross street, probably used Harriet or...
But is it a week turnaround? Or?
I don't know how quick they typically are. Chief, do you know?
Did they let you know? Okay.
Anything else from Mr. Booth? Mr. Downey?
Your Honor, while we're on street lighting, we have two out on Clinton Avenue, one right across the street from Murphy's, and then one right next to the new Coney Island. Posts are, the post lights are out. I noticed them tonight.
Thank you. All right, anything from Mr. Downey tonight? Or do you have anything?
I have nothing this evening for the council, Your Honor.
Any city departments? D is authorities, board, commissions, committee chairs, council reps. Anybody have anything?
Your Honor, I have an announcement to make on behalf of the Recreation Commission.
Yep.
The Blue Wave of St. Clair is currently working on a strategic plan. Part of the plan is revisiting our trail town communities to refresh the recommendations from the trail town process. We will also be planning a paddle event in each community. City of St. Clair community leaders, business owners, and interested parties are invited to attend the local community meeting being held on Thursday, February 7th, 2019 at 6 p.m. at the Pine Shores Golf Course. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have no unfinished business number 6. Let's go to 7, new business. All right, A, 2019 board and commissions appointments. I have a few more appointments. To the Board of Review, reappoint Jason Stoltz for a 1-year term expiring December 31st, 2019. Historical Commission, reappoint Beverly Stewart for a 3-year term expiring December 31st. The following council rep appointments I'd like to make tonight. Mr. Kinsfater to the Golf Commission, Mr. Cooper to the Harbor, Mr. Laporte to Planning, Mr. McCartney to Cemetery and Recreation, and Mr. Watt to Historical and the DDA. I need your...
I make a motion to approve the appointments as
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I do have a council opening on the library board. If anyone would like to serve on that, please let me know about that. That's your easiest convenience. We'll go to B. Off-street parking variance, 132 Trumbull. D, is that you?
Mayor. 132 Trumbull, Renee Colbert is here, petitioner. This is the counseling office. They're on the back, adjacent to the bank parking lot. What she is proposing is some reverse angle parking on Trumbull. She is planning on adding 2 floors to this building, which would be 4 rental units, okay? This being said, the right-of-way on Trumbull is 82 feet. I measured it, and approximately 7 foot of the city right-of-way would be used for her parking, and she is requesting that. The Planning Commission held a public hearing, I think it was in November, was it in November? Can't remember. Fall? December? In December, and they approved it, passed it on as a recommendation to the city council for their approval. I guess the architect is here. If you have any questions, and the petitioner is here. If you have any questions for them, and if you have any questions for me,
Well, I was looking through this, Dee, I do have a question for you. I've been trying to find the off-street or the reverse angle parking. I know there's been some recommendations
Well,
about
the
reverse angle, but it's not
Reverse
listed.
angle isn't on the drawing.
Correct.
As of right now. In your packet, probably you've got a 45-degree and a 60-degree front full-in angle parking. What the planning commission kind of thought was it'd probably be a little bit safer. And when the residents are unloading stuff out of their car, they would be off the street, would be a safer way of doing things.
Does the petitioner understand that this is public parking, it's not assigned to this complex? It's a public street, so therefore it's public
I'll
parking?
let you get to it.
Well, I'm just asking a question.
I mean, I have told her that, and like I say, 7 feet of the right-of-way would be used. The rest would be parking on her property.
Does it narrow that street down at all?
Nope.
Sidewalk?
The sidewalk would be relocated. Have you guys got drawings?
Yeah.
The sidewalk would be relocated. It would still maintain a 5-foot clearance, but it would be against her building.
Okay.
No, these parking spots, they're not needed though, they already have enough parking for the building?
Well, there's a lease agreement. The city owns the parking lot. Okay, it's leased between Fifth Third, Fred Moore's building, and it used to be the counseling building.
Right.
They have a lease agreement as to how many each one had.
But the allocation of those parking spots on that property are between the 3 tenants, not the city. They can
Correct.
meet with
Correct.
the other 2 owners and
Yeah,
reallocate
yeah,
spots
yes.
and all they want. Okay.
So
So we
this
just
is-
went through quite an issue with that parking, if I remember, Jim. So, that whole parking lot. So we know that the agreements for the spaces are between the 3 tenants, not the city. On that
Correct.
parking lot.
In the parking lot.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you needed more spaces, that'd be something you'd have to negotiate with the other 2.
And she's well aware of it.
Okay.
You've got the lease agreement the way it's drawn up right now.
That was 29, 10, and 10, wasn't it? Paul, do you remember?
What's
It
that?
was broke down 29, 10, and 10?
It was, I think, 34, 10, and 10. 34 to the...
54 spaces, 34, 10, and 10.
That's if we give her 7 feet.
Well, I just wanted you to know that it's not all, it's not like up at, what's it, Episcopal Church, where it's all city right away. And probably up at Manuel Lutheran, it's all probably city right away. This is partially city, partially hers.
And I think it's stated in here, this is just a convenience So they can
Well,
park their cars back them up to the building?
I can let the architect explain it, but the entry to the residential suites would be on the, they're being proposed right now on the south side of the building, and then the downstairs of the existing building would be 2 suites for commercial use, where their entries would be on the north, off the parking lot.
Okay. And I know there's a couple of festivals, at least one in the summertime, where that's blocked right off. That's not gonna be an issue for them, I hope.
Probably they could still move that a little forward, they could use it, but like I told her, I said, there's a few times a year where they would be, you better keep your car in the space if you're in.
And I read both reviews from the fire and the police department. Neither one seemed to have a question about it. I questioned it because I didn't think the property was wide enough. Because once you put the sidewalk up to the building and put the parking in, you've lost any or all landscaping on that side of the
And
building.
Jim could answer this question. One, if approved, he's going to have to do some sort of licensing agreement with the owners as to have the right of way for the relocated sidewalk.
Yes, that's correct. We've done that in the context of signs most recently. It'll be something similar to that.
My only question, D, is, and I could probably address it to Paul Wade, is that the motion was made by Paul Wade to the Planning Commission to recommend approval of reverse angle parking at a 45-degree angle, and a 6.5-foot wide minimum width of the sidewalk is maintained. So you said earlier you're going to reduce the sidewalk to 5 foot?
Okay, what that would be your typical overhang on the sidewalk with a car.
Yeah.
That sidewalk is like 6.5 feet, and it would have a curved face on it. If you back right up on an angle parking like that, you'd probably have a foot, foot and a half of overhang on your vehicle. You still would maintain a 5-foot sidewalk.
So that's what that meant? 6.5-foot sidewalk, concrete sidewalk, and you're going to maintain 5 feet when the cars are parked?
Give or take a little bit.
Well, that's why we're
Yeah.
here.
When you, where the back of the curb would fall with reverse angle parking on the south side of the building, there'd be 6.5 foot that would remain up to the building. We figure that, you know, with the overhang of the vehicle, it'd probably take about that 1.5 foot and then leave a full 5-foot clear sidewalk, because right now, like Dee had stated, 7 foot of what's proposed for this parking is public right-of-way right now. The remainder up to the face of the building would be dedicated over to the city as public right-of-way, because there's a public sidewalk that would have to be connected and come back to the face of that building. And this would allow the parking to go in and a full 5-foot sidewalk with an overhang. That's where that 6.5 feet would be.
So when the recommendations were coming back and forth between the planning commissioners, were you given the information that the lease on the existing parking lot could be renegotiated, so there was more spots allocated? So you were all aware of that when you just, well, because in the discovery, it was claimed in the notes that planning noticed that there is a parking issue there. And I'm wondering if you had all that information.
Yeah, we had all that information. The discussion that we got into is the vision of what could happen to some of the other buildings along that, where they could be constructed up to 3 feet. But really, the meat of it was the current bank has 3 floors to it. Only one's being used right now. But 3 floors could be used, and when they put the ATM or that one unit up to the north end, I think they lost, what, about 7 spaces to their part of the parking lot. So there was with this 2 stories going in, there really became a shortage of a few parking spaces out of that 54 for what was needed for those 3 structures. So the discussion, we seen a lease agreement that's made, or the agreement that was made between the 3 parties as far as a split of what they pay in maintenance costs and basically how many parking spots that would give them, the 10, and then the 34 to the Moore building. They can work that between themselves outside of what the city would be worried about. We were worried more as a planning commission about the aggregate of those 54 and was it sufficient for those 3 buildings, with this building going up 2 additional stories. And it did come short a little bit in the calculation that was made. So the 4 spaces would make it whole with the 54 spaces and the 4. But as far as the agreement went, we didn't tell them what they had to do. That's negotiated between the 3 parties.
And Paul, their request is just for the parking. Does it fall into the downtown district, the overlay district, as far as, we didn't get into design or anything like that?
No, this was strictly, the public hearing and the meeting was strictly to construct the parking spaces out in the right-of-way. It had nothing to do with site plan approvals or anything. That will be something for the future before they're allowed to construct there.
So with your motion for the reverse angle, is that still 6 parking spaces? It shows 6 angle parking.
Well, we
Reverse
thought with the reverse angle, it probably is only going to be 5.
Okay.
Max, because of the configuration of it, and as you go up to the west end, it starts to curve around, and it wouldn't allow for the full 6 in there. And they understand that. They were to go back and overlay that and see how many they could get out of it. But we just said it would allow 4 parking out there. The number to be determined once the plans get submitted in.
And the question between the public and private, that's still up in the air, I'm guessing, or who's going to make that decision? We are, or?
Yeah, in other words, what the plan there showed is they're part of the, because we do have a public sidewalk there, which would have to be relocated back onto what currently is their property. They'd have to give that plus all the way out to the existing right-of-way over to the city for public right-of-way in there. And then, so they'd be constructing that parking lot in what will be a complete public right-of-way once that transaction's done.
So the question still is, then they cannot designate them for their residents only, because it's public.
We left that open, and we figured that's up to the council to decide. We didn't see any place else in the city that had been set aside only
Nice
for
of you,
that.
Paul.
So we left that for you.
So what you're describing is, if, just so I'm clear in my head, the city would have the property up to the building, property line, right up to the
Correct.
building? That would be the city property.
Yep.
So they're, to make this work, they're gonna give up what they own currently. Then we're gonna reconstruct the sidewalk, if this gets approved, that's up against their building.
Yes.
And then we have 5 or 6 reverse angle parking.
Correct.
And if you think reverse angle parking is the best way to go to meet the needs of that?
We feel in
facility?
this situation that it would be because, like Dee had brought up earlier, for people loading and unloading stuff, it's better if they come out of the back of their vehicle. They're not loading and unloading out into the street. It's a short stretch in there, so we just thought that was a better way to go here.
And just looking at this, the layout blueprint, to the west side of the building, that's not an option. Looks like there's a lot more property there for some reason. Just according to this, I don't know.
Yeah, the west side started to get into that curve.
Right.
And the existing parking lot, and there was, you know, we want to keep that open.
Okay.
The curve on Second Street, making the turn into Second Street or making the turn on a Trumbull?
Making a curve onto Second Street where you drop off your mail and stuff like that.
Okay.
Plus, you've got people going, some of the people park in that parking lot to use the bank and things like that. So we just thought that was not the place to put it.
Personally, I
Don't want
like
it
what
on
you're
a-
doing down there. I really do. We're just gonna get this right. You know, I mean, this is why all the questions and all the concerns. I personally like what you're doing. That's why we had the vision plan, we wanted the walkability, the living downtown, but we have to get this right. And there's, and I don't know if we'll get it right tonight, but we wanna make sure this is done right. So, that's why all the questions to Paul.
Sure.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Blackstock or Ms. Colbert, would either one of you like to say a word or a couple things, or?
I think everything was covered.
All right.
Is there any questions specific to the building design or?
All right. What are your wishes, council? What would you like to see happen here? I agree with Mr. McCartney. This is exactly what we've kind of been trying to get people to come down and do some residential, and it seems like it fits right into what we're
I
moving
just
towards.
think, Bill, as I stated, that getting these things right up front is a lot easier than coming back a couple years from now, trying to figure out what happened. Assigning, I just want you to understand that assigning those parking spaces to your building probably isn't gonna happen if it's gonna be public parking. I mean, if they're open when your tenants get there, then they're open. You know what you understand where I'm going with that? I just have a hard time assigning public parking for private use. It's just, in my mind, I'm trying to figure this out, so, is that making sense, Your Honor?
Yes. Tonight, we're just dealing with the request for the parking spots reverse,
All right.
okay? I'd ask for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve.
I'll support.
All right, the motion made, support. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
McCartney,
No.
Platt,
No.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
No.
Kufa,
Yes.
Laporte,
No.
Cedar.
Yes.
Motion fails, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, we'll go to C. Special event permit salmon stakes fishing tournament. Chief?
I have a request for the special event for the salmon steaks on April 27th. All their paperwork's in order. And recommend a
Motion to approve.
support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Your Honor, I have to abstain.
Special event permit Memorial Day Parade. Chief?
I have also a request for the Memorial Day Parade on April 27th. All their paperwork's in order also.
Motion to approve. Support.
Or,
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? E, special events permit, St. Clair Chamber of Commerce Beer and Wine Festival.
I have a request from the Chamber for their Beer and Wine Festival on June 22nd, and all their paperwork's in order.
Move to approve.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's going to require the next thing on the agenda, and I'm going to
Vendor
elicit
hour
the help of the
extension.
city clerk on that one.
Yes, for that event, vendor hours are requested to be extended. The current ordinance has vendor hours from 9 to 9, and this event will be happening after that. So the request is to extend the vendor hours on that particular date to 11 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? G, special event permit, 48th Annual St. Clair Art Fair and Artful Dodger.
Again, I have a request for that on June 29th and June 30th, and all their paperwork's in order. And actually, they have changed the run route, which is going to save the city a lot of manpower from the DPW and the police. Motion to approve.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Chief, is this you too, the temporary outdoor service application from the Voyager?
Yes.
All right.
I have received a request from the Voyager for their outside service they do during offshore weekend, and all their paperwork's in order also.
Motion to approve. Support, I guess.
All in favor, say aye.
And
Opposed?
Your Honor, I have to abstain.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Let's go to I. Approve boathouse lot lease transfer 1107 Joliet. Sturdy?
Yes, sorry again for the typo on that. Let me get my memo. A request is made to City Council to transfer the lease of city-owned boathouse area property along the Pine River. The transfer is a result of a direct sale to a person on the waiting list. All sale notification procedures as stated in section 70-30 were followed. The new leasee does meet all the qualifications, and the motion is recommended to approve the boathouse lease transfer.
Just a couple questions. That particular boathouse, just north of that, there's 4 boat wells. Is that part of this transaction? Do you know?
I do not believe it is part of the transaction. Currently, the property lot lease is only for the property that the structure sits on and the area directly in front of the boathouse.
With that information, Your Honor, I'd move to approve the lease.
So Your Honor, the property between the two is city?
Yeah, support it first. I'll support his
Yes.
motion.
All right, the motion is made to support. Any questions? Call the roll, please. I'm sorry.
Actually, I do have some more questions.
All right.
When does the lease expire? Is this a-
All leases are 5-year terms, and they all expire in 2020, so this would be a continuation of the current lease. It's either April or March of 2020.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater.
Yes.
Pupa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
McCartney.
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 8 is claimed on the council for January 10th and 17th, 2019.
There are no questions, Your Honor. I make a motion to approve as presented.
Support.
Motion's made, supported. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go to number 9, public comment. Anybody have any questions, comments, any business with us tonight?
I thought there were some people from the chamber here. Maybe they wanted to talk about their beer and wine festival.
Brian,
coming up,
you want to
or-
come up and say a few words?
Hi, I'm Brian, president of the St. Clair Chamber. We've been doing a beer fest now for quite a while, and now we're just changing it up a little bit. And we want to make sure that you guys know it's going to be very similar to what was in the past. We're looking for the June 22nd date on it, just using a new vendor and adding more things to it. So please look at what we have to offer, and I do believe that there might be someone else looking for something similar. We would just like to keep it to one for the summer on there. And if you guys have any other questions or concerns, please feel free to give me a call over at the St. Clair Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment or questions tonight?
I have a comment just to remind everyone of the Chili Heart 5K that is on February 9th. The proceeds from that charity race benefit all students of East China School District. If you haven't registered, please do so. You can find it by Googling Chili Heart 5K.
Thank you. Hello.
My name's Regina Stocco. I own the Social Connection, and we are the organization that founded the St. Clair Beer and Wine Festival, and we came before you 5 years ago. We were just notified recently that the Chamber has submitted an application for our event and is not planning to include us in the event. So I'm an event producer. I do this professionally. I've been doing this for 18 years, and we started this event 5 years ago. We've spent a lot of time and money branding the event, and I'm just trying to understand how any other company or organization that doesn't have ownership in our event can be up here asking for city council approval for our event.
I'm going to ask Mr. Downey to address that. Sounds like a legal issue, but. And I'll investigate it.
Okay, great.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you, Regina. Anybody else?
Good evening, Catherine Huffmaster, 1507 Oakland Street. I am a member of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. I am also a local business owner who has sponsored the St. Clair Beer and Wine Festival for the last 3 years. And I would just like to point out the multiple times during those 3 years that we were referred to, our town, as small peanuts by this organization. Meetings were late, meetings were missed, correspondence was not replied to in a timely manner at all. Local sponsors, including myself, were disrespected, sponsors that paid for the event, all because they had venues that were bigger than ours, Royal Oak, Detroit, wherever, but we were referred to as small peanuts. And I just ask you, do we as a community really want an organization representing our town that thinks we're just small peanuts?
Thank you. Anybody else?
Matt Flynn, Ultimate Fun Productions. Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight. Appreciate you allowing us to speak. I know, for one, I've never referred to anything up here as small peanuts, so I don't know where that ever's come from. I know that a vendor who bought space or rented space in that location came to us and said, hey, can you bring some of your events up to St. Clair? It would be good for the city, be good for that area. So we came up, said we needed to work with a charity or a nonprofit, a local nonprofit, to help make this thing happen. We were introduced to the St. Clair Chamber, which we talked to them about, and we said that we needed help getting an MLCC license. Nothing was ever in ownership. The first year they made about $1,000, and they continued, their donations continued to rise every single year. We put all the risk out. We branded this, we put over $50,000 into this event over the past 5 years. And for us to find out that they're doing our event, I have no problem them doing an event. Great, they can go do an event. We'll work with other charities. We already met with 2 other charities that wants to work with us to do this event. They can go do their own event, brand a new event, spend the time and energy. I didn't know why we couldn't have had public comment before, and it was directly approved to give you guys chance and opportunity to table this event, because I don't know if we're forced to go litigation or what to do on this, but there's plenty of other dates. We've had this the first weekend in June. We moved it to there. We get a letter from the city today saying, well, why don't you guys do a different type of event? Why don't you do it a different time of year? Well, this is when people expect it. We've got a lot of assets in this. We have people that come up to this event. We've brought 1,500 people a year to this event, when more than half of them aren't even local people that come up here and now come to St. Clair and start enjoying St. Clair, because we produced it. We put St. Clair and put different businesses on Fox 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, all at working and doing these events. And I don't think it's fair that they can just put this up as their event. Look back since 2015, the application is Ultimate Fun Productions and the Social Connection. It's our event. It is not their event. They were the benefit of of some of the proceeds that came from the event to them. Great, if they want to do their own event. But using St. Clair Beer and Wine Fest, which we own, is not there. We talked about going across the street, as in a few years ago with the mayor, about taking the event across the street. That's where we want to go. We don't want to go in the plaza. We've outgrown the plaza. They have new businesses in there that makes it difficult to even produce a successful event in that event. But we have never referred to them. We work in municipalities all across the state. Other charities hire us, and we'll go in and do things for them. We were never hired there. This is not their event. So I don't know if there's a way that you guys can come back in and make a motion and table this to get your facts, to avoid, where you guys can be able to make a wise decision on this. Not that your decision wasn't wise tonight. I'm not disrespecting anybody, but to avoid any type of litigation. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Flynn, what's the name of your Ultimate Fun?
Ultimate Fun Productions, and Regina's name is the Social Connection. I have copies of that. I have copies of correspondence that every year from the city. It's a great event. It was a great event. Bring it back again. Do it again. Nothing against the chamber, and I grant it, more events can be successful. They can do their event on the 22nd. We're asking, and we're up to do the event on the 8th. We can do an event on the 8th. They can do their event on the 22nd. But we're just asking. I mean, I don't think that the board has the legal, but you don't know the facts. You guys don't have the legal authority to allow them to do an event on a business that we own. You can allow them to do an event, but not give them the right to do our event.
Is your contention the name of the event or the actual event?
Would this be
No.
an issue with just the Beer and Wine Festival of St. Clair?
They can
St.
do-
Clair Beer and Wine Festival.
It's still the same thing if you look at that way. Having that name in that with the Beer and Wine Festival is going to cause problems. The thing has been branded. We spent over $50,000 marketing, branding, doing this. The chamber has never had one risk. When you start a business, everybody here, if they have a business or have worked or produced events, even Mr. Neaport, that they're going to be working with. I've known Joe for years. Great organization. He's going to have great success with them. He does phenomenal events. I used to do stuff at Joe's businesses. But for that to be in there, when we branded it, they've never had it. They've never had a risk. This year, I don't know their arrangements with Mr. Neaport, and it's none of my business. But if they have their skin, their money, they're in the game, and they brand a new event and do their new theme and do all those other things, that's the only thing that's the right way to do it. Not take off of something that we did, we created, we produced, we marketed, we did all of it. And then when we gave them the opportunity to increase their stuff, they're the ones, they went out and got sponsors. They kept the sponsorship revenue. We even paid them prior to the sponsors paying the revenue on some of the events. So I don't understand how we can build all this up and then boom, take it away. So they can do a beer and wine festival, keep St. Clair out of it. But we're coming up, we would love to do our event. There's people that already bought tickets to our event because they know it's that first weekend in June. They know what to expect. Plus the fact, not even to mention that, not that Mr. Neaport and the Chamber won't do a successful, outstanding event, but we don't know how it could come out. So if the event is not what people expect, it's going to look bad on my company, look bad on Regina's company, because we produce 40 events a year. We do events all over, and we don't just do them in big towns where this is small peanuts, I guess, that.
Mr. Flynn, did the chamber come to you and request you to help promote the event, or?
Absolutely not, sir.
So how'd this come to be?
So I have a letter from Linda, who used to own Stella Boutique. She used to come to our events all the time. And she said, Matt, can you please come up here and bring some of your events, so not to put St. Clair on the map, but to help draw other people here to St. Clair. So what we did was we came up and we said, you know what, we need to work, and we work with charity partners. So she introduced us to the chamber. And when we were introduced to the chamber, that's when we said, this is what we'll do. They wanted a minimum donation of $1,000, and that's what started out. And then it grew every year, whereas I think last year they may have made close to $7,000. But it's the charity partner. We can choose what charity partner we want to work with, but we would never just say, we're done working with you, the charity. But it's not fair for them to come our event. We own the domain, we own the website, everything around it.
So in your opinion, what's the cause for the split?
I have no idea. I've never been privy to sit down at a meeting. There was some stuff that was referred to as last year, the sponsors weren't happy. Well, they handled the sponsors. Their duty was to handle the sponsors. So I won't get into anything back and forth, but the fact is it's our event. I work with numerous municipalities.
Excuse me. I'm going to jump in here on the advice of counsel, and I'm going to kind of maybe put an end to this discussion right now, because my attorney is telling me that this could turn into some kind of legal ramification between you and this party. Our job tonight was yes or no on this permit. If you come to us and ask for a permit, it'll be yes or no with your permit. As far as dealing with the domain, who owns what, the name, that may be between the two different parties, not between the city of St. Clair. I appreciate your patience and I appreciate your situation, but I'm not sure that we can get into the legal aspect of domains and trademarks and that kind of thing right from this point of view.
Well, I understand it, Mayor, but however, the city knew it was our event. We applied for the applications every year. Our names have been on the applications, and all of a sudden the same event comes up now with another entity, so the city was well aware of it. Maybe you as a council wasn't aware of it, but the city was aware of it.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Well, okay, I think I'm going to stop it there, Brian. I know you want to rebut that, but this may be between two individual groups here, not us. Sorry about that. Okay, any other public comment? All right, we'll go to number 11 then. Council have anything?
I just got one thing. I just want to congratulate the police department. I see they raised $350 for kids in distress with their No Shave November. Congratulations, Chief, to your staff.
Good job, Chief. I would make a quick announcement for the Knights of Columbus. On January 27th, 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, they were having a homemade chili and grilled cheese dinner. January 27th, 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Dinner includes chili, grilled cheese, salad, and dessert. $8 for adults, $7 for children 12 and under. Proceeds to benefit the seminarians at Sacred Heart Major Seminary. Anybody else have anything? All right. Go to number 11, ask for a motion to go into closed session, discuss strategy connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement with employees represented by the Police Officers Labor Council.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
Support.
Call the roll, please.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kuzma?
Yes.
Lepore?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
We are most likely not going to take any action when we come back out. You're certainly more than welcome to stay. If not, have a safe ride home tonight. Brian, I'm sorry I had to cut you off like that, but that's on the advice of the lawyer. I have to do what he says.